keep the Sabbath holy, commemorate our covenant with the Most High. As per covenant made with our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and confirm the same with Israel. And today, conveniently, we're going to have a class that's going into the chronology of the timeline of Israel going into Egypt and coming out to Egypt on the various locations and habitations that we had until going up into our homeland. Okay? Now let's start off with Genesis 15:13. The Most High first told Abraham, of the future creation of Israel. Okay, good.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, to all in the name of Mashiach Yahushua, giving thanks to the Most High and the Father by him.
God, whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Most High and Mashiach Yahushua, always giving thanks to the Most High, man, to the greatest of achievements. Without the Most High and Mashiach Yahushua, none will prosper. All right, let's go to Genesis 15, verse 13.
The book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 13. And he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance.
Right, that's the Most High telling Abraham right there. Know for certain that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. See, with Abraham, he didn't have having a seed yet. He didn't have any children yet. But the Most High was telling Abraham what was going to happen to him, which we know from the scriptures that turned out to be Jacob and Jacob's 12 sons, from which our nation came. And it's going to give you a clue also how long, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So right there, it tells, give us a clue as how long we were in Egypt. Then also Job 8 and 8.
The book of Job, chapter 8, verse 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. For we are but of yesterday, and know nothing, because our days upon the earth are a shadow. Shall not they teach thee, and tell thee, and utter words out of their heart? Can the rush grow up without mere? Can the flag grow without water?
Right. Get also Jeremiah 6:16.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 16. Thus saith the Most High, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old path, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls.
Right. Give me also
Isaiah 46 and 9.
Before we get that, get Roman 15 and 4. Yeah.
The book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
Right. So these scriptures in particular to let us know gone to the Most High, that was to search for the ways, the old path. And I learned from our forefathers and the connection that they had with the Most High. The scripture says also, everything that's written right now, that we're reading right now, reflect back. Reflect back also how things were. Because all these things are written for our learning today, for our edification today, our spiritual upliftment, so we can build and have hope. Know that, hey, we are the chosen people of the Most High, made a covenant with our forefathers, the same covenant He made with us. Understand that we should be living, even though we're in exile, we should be living in remembrance, in the consciousness of that covenant. Okay? You get me? What was that scripture for? Isaiah 46?
Isaiah 46:9, right?
That is that.
Isaiah 46:9.
Let's see what that says.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 46, verse 9. Remember the former things of old, for I am the Most High, and there is none else. I am the Most High, and there is none like me. Declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done. Saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure.
Right. The Most High said, remember the former things of old. Remember all those things. Remember how the Most High brought us into Egypt? How we prophesied that to Abraham before Abraham even had a child. How the Most High delivered us out of the captivity through the Red Sea from the attack of Pharaoh. The Most High said, "What? For I am the Most High, there is none else. I am the Most High, and there is none like me." Declaring the end from the beginning. Because even when you read the book of Genesis, the book of Deuteronomy, the Most High would prophesy what would happen to Israel way generations, many generations before it happened. Understand? Because slavery and all that was prophesied to take place while we were in the homeland, Jerusalem. The Most High prophesied of things that would happen in this generation today and future while we were in our homeland. Declared the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I shall do all my pleasure. So everything is going according to the script that the Most High wrote. And that, let's get 1 Kings chapter 1 Kings 6:1. Now this time that I'm going to venture in, not all the historical dates are explicitly written in the scriptures. Some basically have to search out from history books and that give it a different time when certain events took place concerning Israel and the nations that Israel interacted with throughout our existence before we were even born, coming up into various captivity, into our homeland, the exile from our homeland, being scattered through the four corners of the earth. But there are certain times, there are certain dates that basically stand out that we can do a mathematical calculations to see, when other things happen. So of course to verify the different era of time concerning Israel, consider our existence from our captivity coming up into our homeland and into exile. 1 Kings chapter 6:1.
The book of 1 Kings. The book of 1 Kings, chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 418th year, after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph, which is in the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Most High.
Right. It came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build a house for the Most High. So it's telling you that Solomon started building the temple 480 years after we came out of Egypt. Understand? And yeah, that 480 years after we came out of Egypt, and he started building the temple in his fourth year of reign. I mean, he was reigning for like, he was in the fourth year, reigning for 3 years. In the middle of the fourth year, he started building the temple. So we're going to base, we're gonna go back and forth. I mean, to figure out what time, what date certain events took place, based on because I'm going to do this from this perspective of Solomon. So we know from the scriptures that Solomon died in 933 BC. So he died in 933 BC. Understand? And we know he reigned. He reigned for 40 years. And get the scripture that tells you how long he reigned. Get 2 Chronicles chapter 9, verse 29.
929.
Yeah. So we know that if Solomon died in 933 BC and he reigned for 40 years, then counting backwards, if we add 40 to 933, we can see when Solomon started to reign, which is 973 BC.
The book of Second Chronicles, chapter 9, verse 29. Now the rest of the acts of Solomon, first and last, are they not written in the book of Nathan the prophet, and in the prophecy of Ahijah the Shilonite, and in the vision of Idol the seer against Jeroboam?
What is that? 2 Chronicles 9:29?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well,
The book of Second Chronicles, chapter 9, verse 29. Now the rest of the acts of Solomon, first and last, are they not written in the book of Nathan the prophet, and in the prophecy of Ahijah the Shilonite, and in the visions of Idol the seer against Jeroboam, the son of Nebat? And Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel 40 years. And Solomon slept with his fathers, and he was buried in the city of David, his father. And Rehoboam his son reigned in his stead.
right. So Solomon reigned for 40 years. That's confirmed by the scriptures, 2 Chronicles 9:29, verse 30. So we know, okay, so which tells you that Solomon started ruling in 973 BC. We know he died in 933 BC. They add 40 to that. I'm counting in reverse order. That's 973 BC that he started ruling, right? But he started building the temple in his fourth year. So basically, we could estimate that he started building the temple, say, 970 BC. All right, 970 BC. And we just read in this. We just read in that verse. Just read in First Kings chapter 6 and 1, that he started building the temple 480 years after we came out of Egypt. Right? So if he started building in 970, which is 480 years after we came out of Egypt, probably probably need to write this down. It's a good idea to do. Write these dates down, but because you may have a general idea about as far as maybe I'll maybe another time. Okay?
You got a verse in Acts 13:21 that lets you know how long Saul reigned as well.
Acts 13:21.
13, chapter 13, verse 21.
Okay, that's good. Okay. We can get to that one. We make a note of that. Okay. So if we know that Solomon started building the temple in 970 BC, which is 480 years after we came out of Egypt. So how do we know when we were in Egypt? I'll talk about rather when we left Egypt. You had 480 years to the 970. All right. He started building the temple in 970 BC, right? Which is 480 years after leaving Egypt. So when did we leave Egypt? 14. So mathematics there. 970 plus 480. 1450 BC. That's when we left Egypt. 1450 BC. All right? We just heard earlier in Genesis 15:30 that we served our enemies for 400 years. We served the Egyptians for 400 years. But we also know that, we were immediately in captivity. The Egyptians didn't immediately put us in captivity. Joseph, the history of Joseph was sold to the Midianites, who were later sold to the Egyptians. And then Joseph, through the blessing of the Most High, he found favor in Pharaoh's sight. So he was very prominent with Pharaoh. And as a result of that, Pharaoh gave Joseph a land in Goshen, a certain part of Egypt, the northern part of Egypt, where the Israelites lived for a certain period of time and flourished. Flourished to the point that we were so plentiful, we were so numerous and powerful and prosperous as per the blessing of the Most High, the Mashakawashai, that the Egyptians became jealous and suspicious of us. Because Israel was, we kept to ourselves praising the Most High, not following the ways of the Egyptians and the other nations among the Egyptians. So they became suspicious of us. And they put us in captivity. If you read the book of Exodus, let me see. Exodus, which tells us 430 years. Get that too. We left for 430 years. We left. So which means that for 30 years, we were, or so, we were prospering in Egypt.
What date did you start with again?
1450. That's where we left.
1450?
1450.
1450?
Yeah. BC. We got that by because
Egyptian captivity.
that's when we left in captivity. Because Solomon, go ahead.
Captivity started after Joseph.
Right, the captivity started after Joseph died, because after Joseph died, and the Pharaoh that Joseph was serving died, the new Pharaoh, who didn't know anything about Joseph, or the connection that Joseph had with Pharaoh and how he was helpful to the Egyptians, didn't care. He just knew that, hey, these guys, these Israelites over there, we're not trying to assimilate into our society. They're not conforming to our ways. We got to keep an eye on them. We got to keep them in check. So what did they do? They ruled over us, with vigor, hard labor. I put us in bondage, man. That bondage was for 400 years. You got it? Get Exodus, maybe the first chapter of Exodus, where you said we left, we were there for like 430 years. You got that?
I'm trying to look for it right now.
I think Exodus 1.
Yeah, when is it?
1450 and what was the next thing?
40, no.
We didn't go past that.
No, okay. I was trying to tell it, let us know what came to that figure. Understand? In 1 Kings 6:1, it says, Solomon started building the temple 480 years after coming out of Egypt. I would know that was in 970 BC. So we had 970, we had 480 years to the 970 to get that 1450. 1 Kings 6:1. Read it again. Read 1 Kings 6:1 again.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt,
Right?
in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel,
Right.
in the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Most High.
Right. So Solomon started the house of the Most High in 970 BC, 480 years after we came out of Egypt. So when did we leave? When did we leave Egypt? It's supposed to add 480 years to the 970. Understand? And that's which is 1450. Yeah? You got it? 430 years? What you got?
The book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 40. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years.
Right. So that's how long we actually stayed in Egypt. We were in captivity for 400 years, but the previous 30 years, we were not in captivity. We were enjoying a prosperous life as per the blessing that the Most High bestowed upon Israel through Joseph and the favor that Joseph found with Pharaoh, because that's what the Most High orchestrated things.
That was 430.
Yeah.
So
What scripture was that? Exodus 12 and what?
40.
That's 18.
So all right. So now to calculate when we went into Egypt, we know when we left, 1450, right? And we were there 430 years. So how do we know when we left? And when we entered Egypt? 1880. You add 1450 to the 430. That's 1880. 1880 BC. That's when we entered Egypt. Jacob and 70 souls entered Egypt. Understand? So we got some numbers right there. Now go back to First Kings. As a matter of fact, in your own time, I mean, it's a lot of reading, so I can't read everything. I can only give you a brief summary of certain things, but you may want to read like Genesis 37 and 1, the whole chapter, Genesis 47, then give you an idea, about the events, to get a feel of it in the spirit. Because we gotta immerse ourselves into this. And we gotta visualize this. You know what I mean? Like as if you're watching a movie. You know what I mean? Or things are transpiring. I got it right here. It's a certain body, right? So go back to 1 Kings 6 and 1.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Most High. And the house which King Solomon built for the Most High, the length thereof was three score cubits, and the breadth thereof 20 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits.
Okay, so all right. So Solomon built the temple. As we know, David wanted to build the temple for the Most High. But David slaughtered so many Philistines and the heathens. The Most High said, David, I know you got a good heart. I know you did all this for Israel, but there's so much blood in your hand. I'm going to have your son, Solomon, build a temple instead. Which Solomon started to build in the 4th year of his reign. Understand? Which is 970. And 480 years after we left Egypt. Understand? Which means we left Egypt in 1450. And we were in Egypt for 430 years, which meant we entered Egypt in 1880. Understand? So we have when we entered Egypt and when we left. And we also know when Solomon started building the temple. Okay, let me see what so after Solomon we know died 943 BC. Get me First Chronicles 29:26. You read earlier Second Chronicles 9:29, that tells us that
Chronicles 29:6, right?
First Chronicles 29:26.
You see that? You see that? How many you see?
Okay. Yeah, I see. That's gone. I heard the BC Solomon said gone.
You see 26, 29?
29:26.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 29, verse 26. Thus David, the son of Jesse, reigned all Israel.
Read it again.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 29, verse 26. Thus David, the son of Jesse, reigned over all Israel. And the time that he reigned over Israel was 40 years, 7 years. Reigned he in Hebron, and 33 years reigned he in Jerusalem.
Right. So David reigned over all Israel. There were three kings that reigned over all Israel. Saul was the first, David the second, and Solomon the third. After Solomon's death in 933 BC, the kingdom was split. Understand? There were three kings that reigned over all Israel. Solomon, David before him, and Saul before David. Understand? And they all reigned for 40 years. We just read that David reigned over all Israel 7 years in Hebron. Understand? 7 years in Hebron, and then 33 years in Jerusalem. Okay, now let's get on the scripture that tells us how long Saul reigned. Which is Acts 13:26.
How long did David reign?
40 years altogether. So the scripture tells us so far that Solomon reigned for 40 years and David ruled for 40 years.
So King David reigned. His reign started at 1013 BC.
Right. Right, exactly. Because Solomon started reigning at 973 BC. I 40 for that. That's 1013 BC. That's correct. And we're gonna show when Saul also ruled for 40 years. So if you add another 40 years to that, it tells you when Saul started to rule. All right. Read. You got it? You got it? Okay. Acts 13:21. Got it.
The book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 21. And afterward, they desired a king. And the Most High gave unto them Saul, the son of Cis, a man of the tribe of Benjamin, by the space of 40 years.
God, by the space of 40 years. Get First Samuel 8 and 5. That's what the precept tells me. Telling me. Maybe that's where it's the New Testament. You know, whatever you see in the New Testament, usually a reiteration of what's in the Old Testament. So see if it's there. First Samuel 8 and 5. Does it tell you? Does it tell you? You know what I'm saying? All along your reign? Okay. Maybe somewhere, someplace else. But from right here, in Acts 13:21, it tells you that Saul ruled also for 40 years. So we can see that all the three kings who ruled over the united kingdom of Israel ruled for 40 years each. Solomon started reigning in 973 BC, David 1013 BC, when Saul started reigning 1053 BC. 1053 BC. And it's that, let's start saying, right? Again, let's add 40, another 40 to that. Going backwards, in reverse order.
So you got Saul from when?
Saul from 1053 BC to 1013 BC. Right.
You got David from 1013
to 973 BC. and Solomon from 973 BC to 933 BC.
Age 40 years, right?
Oh, yeah, all the kings, all those three kings that ruled over the united kingdom of Israel before the split, ruled for 40 years each. And give me 1 Kings 11.
Verse 1.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 11, verse 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites.
Right. What the Most High say about Deuteronomy chapter 7? When before the Most High brought us into the land of Canaan, what did the Most High warn us about?
Heathen women.
Don't marry them. Don't give your sons to the women of the other nations. And don't give your daughters to the men of the other nations. You shouldn't intermarry with them. Why? Because what? They do not serve the Most High. They serve the idols that they made up, the old idols. And once you're intermarried with them, they're going to entice you to follow their idols and take you away from serving the ways of the Most High. And as we can see, right, even though Solomon, only to get me
What is that?
Oh, wait, you were talking about heathen women, right?
Yeah.
Or you want a verse on that?
Huh?
You want a verse on that?
What?
What, the heathen women thing?
What is that?
Ezra's 9 and 14.
Let me see. No, it's all right now.
All right.
Solomon built the temple of the Most High. So you can't get any closer to the Most High and any closer to righteousness than that. You actually built the temple of the Most High. You also, if you read this 1 Kings chapter 8, it tells you Solomon will beseech the Most High, told him, ask the Most High, hey, whenever Israel goes off and stray away from you and go into captivity, if they return to Jerusalem and pray to the Most High and ask for repented and ask for forgiveness, that the Most High would grant us forgiveness. That's why when we pray today, to this very day, we have returned to the east, to Jerusalem. As per the agreement that the Most High made with Solomon on behalf of Israel from that time to this time. But even with that closeness to the Most High, Solomon still went on. That's how powerful it is. That's how powerful it is when they intermarry with other nations. Because what does the scripture say? Get Matthew 19 and 3. Or Genesis 1:29.
Matthew 19. Matthew 19. The scripture says a two became one flesh. Okay, oh, you're right. 19, read verse 4, 19 and 4.
The book of Matthew, chapter 19, verse 4. And he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that which he had made them at the beginning made them male and female.
Yeah, have you not read? That which he had made from the beginning made them male and female, read?
And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh.
Right. So they twin shall be one flesh. So when a man and a woman marries, they become one flesh. They one accord. Like one is subject to the other. So that's what happens. That's why the Most High warned our people against marrying people of the other nation. That's what happened to Solomon. Go back to what was that?
First Kings 11.
1 Kings 11. Right. 1 Kings 11, verse 1.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 11, verse 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which the Most High said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go in to them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their powers. Solomon clave unto these in love.
Right. So Solomon disobeyed the Most High's commandment in his old age, and cleave unto these women of the other nations, the Moabites, Ammonites, Zidonians, and the different nations round about Israel. Understand? And we know what happened. They took Solomon away from the Most High. Read on.
Verse 3. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other powers. And his heart was not perfect with the Most High's power, as was the heart of David his father.
Right. Solomon was so close to the Most High. He built a temple. Dedicated the temple to the Most High. Begged the Most High, beseech the Most High to always be receptive to our prayer when we go off and abroad in captivity. And yet Solomon be so close to the Most High was taken away from the Most High by the women of these other nations. What you got that?
Oh, I got Nehemiah 13 and 23. It starts from 23 on to 26. They go into what you're talking about.
All right, let me read some more of this and then we can get that. Read on in Kings. Let me get that.
Verse 5. For Solomon went after Asherah, the goddess of the Zidonians.
The goddess of the Zidonians, read.
And after Milcah, the abomination of the Amorites.
See, there's always some that's intriguing. Because we know who Solomon was. It was the wisdom that they had. He searched for many things. That was curious. You know what I'm saying? When you're curious, man, when you're curious and you take one step to do something that's wicked and that's off, that's like an invitation right there to Satan. Satan is supposed to win. That's all it needs. That's all it needs. That's why the Most High said, be not curious in unnecessary things. When you get curious in unnecessary things and wickedness, that's an invitation to Satan. You just open yourself right there for Satan. That's why in Genesis it said, if you do wickedness with that, sin lies at the door. He's right there. Satan is right there. It's knocking. You're gonna open up because you're curious. There's always something that is tension of it that looks appeasing to you. Even though it was wicked, even though it was wrong, but that spirit. Understand when that spirit jumps in you, that's what happens. Read.
And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Most High, and went not fully after the Most High, as did David his father. Then did Solomon build in high place for Chemosh.
Look at that. He left from building a temple to the Most High to building an altar to Chemosh, the god of the other nations. Read.
The abomination of Moab, and the hill that is before Jerusalem.
Look at that. Overlooking Jerusalem. I'm saying, you're looking down in Jerusalem. Now you're on top now. symbolically. They're on a higher level now. Oh, you know, was the Most High supposed to feel about that? Read.
The abomination of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense.
Oh, you skip something from all that you left them.
Oh, yeah. Like it. Verse 7. Then did Solomon build an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon.
So Molech is the abomination of the children of Ammon. That's their God. Read.
And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrifice unto their gods.
I mean, how simple could you get, man? I mean, you think all these nations, God were real? You have to know, but because of the power of these women that over him, when these two flesh become one, he was now appeasing them instead of trying to please the Most High. Read.
And the Most High was very angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned away from the Most High, power of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing.
So not one. Most High didn't appear to Solomon once, but twice. But sometimes, you know, when you're living a good life, it's like you feel the egg. You know, it doesn't bother to happen to you. You only got to get me Isaiah 20 and 15. You know it's wicked. You know it's off. But for some reason, that spirit in you is like, hey, nah, it's not gonna happen to me. I'm immune to this. I know what the Most High said, but the way I'm living right now, it's so far-fetched that you know, I could be brought down. The pride of your heart can deceive you. Isaiah 20 and 15. Read.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 28, verse 15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death.
That's a covenant with death, man. We're not. When you pursue the Most High, start building all these altars for these different gods of the other nations, that's a covenant with death right there. You know, there's nothing good is going to come out of that situation. Read.
And with hell are we at agreement.
Yeah, right there, Solomon was in agreement with hell. Read.
When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge.
Right. So, with the overflowing scourge, with all the consequences that the Most High said would take place for such an action was to come. You have the spirit in you that, hey, it's not going to happen to me. I'm immune to this. You made lies a refuge. I'll go back to things.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 11, verse 10. And had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other powers. But he kept not that which the Most High commanded. Wherefore the Most High said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes which I have commanded thee, I will surely bring the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant. Notwithstanding in thy days, I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen.
Right, see that? Because of that, because what Solomon did, the Most High said, I'm going to take the kingdom from you. I'm going to take it from your son. But I'm not going to take all the tribes out for David's sake and for Jerusalem's sake. I'm going to give the kingdom to your servant. But I will only give one to your son. That's what Genesis the kingdom shall not depart from shadow.
Check out Isaiah 49.
Huh?
It's Isaiah 49, 12. shall not depart from Judah, nor lawgiver, something like that. Shiloh come.
Yeah.
So Shiloh come, right?
Yeah, right.
Genesis 49:10.
410, yeah. Good.
The book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 10. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come.
Right, so the rulership. That's why we're reading right here in the first Kings. The Most High says, I will not rent away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son, for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen. Now read that again in Genesis 49 and 10.
The book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 10. The scepter shall not depart
What
from
is
Judah.
the scepter? What does scepter symbolize?
Rulership.
Rulership. Exactly. Kingship. Understand? So the Most High said right there in Genesis 49 and 10 that the rulership shall not depart from Judah until Shiloh comes. Who shall that Shiloh referencing? Who that Shiloh talking about? Who Shiloh?
Mashiach.
Mashiach Yahushua. That's why the Most High kept the tribe of Judah. We'll see later on in turn Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. To the southern kingdom. Understand? And the rulership stayed within the tribe of Judah until Yahushua came. And Yahushua is now our king. Being that he was always our king, he was always meant to be our king. But being that we are a nation, we are in exile, Mashiach Yahushua is our king. We have the earthly king. That's Mashiach Yahushua. That's what we're reading about right in 1 Kings 11. Read.
The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
Right. That's talking about Mashiach Yahushua. Now hold that and get me Isaiah 11. The scepter shall not depart from Judah until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. See all these precepts are lining up, man. They're so very consistent. That's why the Most High said, read what? Precept upon precept, line upon line. Here a little, there a little. Once you read one, another one is pops into your consciousness. Isaiah 11 and 11.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Most High shall send his hand again, the second time.
Let me see what it says. No, right there. Let me get it. Let me go over there. I didn't turn to it. Let me see what it says. Same thing. The same thing. Start from verse 1. Verse 1.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots.
Who's Jesse?
Father David.
Exactly. See, right here we're talking. See, this lines up perfectly well with what we just read in Genesis 49 and 10, and also 1 Kings 11. There shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and the branch shall grow out of his roots. We're talking about Mashiach Yahushua out of David. Read from the root of David. Read.
And the Spirit of the Most High shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Most High.
Mashiach Yahushua, all these are the attributes, some of the attributes that the Mashiach Yahushua had when he walked the earth. Read.
And shall make him of quick understanding.
Right. Remember Mashiach Yahushua, when he and his mother Mary are gone up to Jerusalem, when he was a child. I think like you read about Luke 2:40. You can read it another time. And she was looking for him. There was a Mashiach Yahushua. He was talking with a grown man. As he was as far as wisdom went, he was on a level. Why? Because it was a quick understanding. Understand? He could relate to exactly what they were talking about. And they were marveled. They were marveled at the wisdom that the young man had. Why? Because according to the scriptures right here in Isaiah, just prophesied that Mashiach Yahushua would be a quick understanding, wisdom, knowledge, and all that would be some of the attributes of the many attributes that the Most High would bestow on Mashiach Yahushua. Read.
And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Most High. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears.
Right. See, he's not going to judge after the sight of his eyes. He's going to reprove after the hearing of his ears. He's not going to judge outwardly. Understand? He's going to judge according to the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, not according to how things may appear. Read.
For with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth.
Right. But the righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity, meaning what? Fairness for the meek of the earth. Read.
With the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf with the young lion.
Now jump to verse 11.
You want to quickly say about Yahushua being the rule?
No, go ahead. Yeah. Well, I want to read this about the gathering. Unto him the gathering should be. No, this is it. 11. This is one.
And it shall come to pass in that day, the Most High shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea.
Right. See, these are some of the nations where Israel was scattered to throughout our history. And the Most High said, well, we shall gather from all these places. Understand? And we gather through our king, the Mashiach Yahushua. Read.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
Right. That's what that's talking about. What priest did that? You have another one?
About him gathering people?
Yeah, what's that?
Matthew 24 and 36.
I get it.
Get it?
Yeah, get it.
Okay.
Matthew 24 and 30. The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his elect from all four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
Right. So right there, that all the elect Israelites. 144, 1/3 shall be gathered to the Mashiach Yahushua. The angels of the most Mashiach Yahushua shall gather us together. And I'm back to the Mashiach Yahushua. Okay. Let's go back to what we were, 1 Kings. You tell you the 1 Kings chapter 11 tells of Solomon, because of the disobedience, the Most High decided to render the kingdom from Solomon and leave one tribe. We turn to be two tribes, the southern kingdom, in effect, to Solomon, for David's sake, for Jerusalem's sake, so that the scepter, the rulership, should stay within the lineage of Judah until Yahushua came. Understand? Because until Yahushua, the nation shall be gathered. We just read in those various scriptures, Matthew 24:36, Isaiah 11, and those scriptures. Understand? So Solomon died, as you said earlier, in 933 BC. And this kingdom, after the death of Solomon, the kingdom was split into two. Understand? The northern kingdom go to Jeroboam. Right. Exactly, there it is. To Jeroboam. Right. And the southern kingdom to Rehoboam. They look like queens, don't they? They look like Israelites. So the northern kingdom was ruled by Rehoboam, but the Ephraimites up until what? 722 BC. Let's get Second Kings chapter 17.
You can write down the date. You said you can get 2 Kings what?
Chapter 17.
Got 2 Kings now?
2 kingdoms now, right.
What was it?
Second, start from verse 1.
The year
722 BC. Oh, well, actually, 930 after the death of Solomon, 933 BC. That's when the king was split after the death of Solomon.
Right.
933 BC. Right. So Rehoboam ruling on the southern kingdom, which was Solomon's son, and Jeroboam the Ephraimite, who was a servant of Solomon, who ran away from Solomon when the prophet told Solomon, "Hey, Moses is going to split the kingdom." He ran away to Egypt, and then came back after Solomon's death to rule.
And this is on 933 BC.
Yeah, that's on 933 BC.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 17, verse 1. In the 20th year of Ahaz, king of Judah,
Read again.
the book of 2 Kings, chapter 17, verse 1. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Most High, but not have the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became a servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea.
See that? In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria. See, he's telling you, he's referencing the time of Ahaz's rulership, which was the southern kingdom, but it's really actually talking about Hoshea, the king of the northern kingdom. What happened? What's going to happen to him? That wasn't. He was ruling in Samaria because, as we know, Samaria is the capital of the northern kingdom. Right? And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Most High, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. So this is later on, because as you know, Jeroboam was the first king of the northern kingdom. Understand? But so we're both at this point we're reading about the Hosea, which is a king that came later on after Jeroboam.
How many years is that? 9.
In his
Is the 12th year?
oh, in the 9th year. In Hosea's 9th year.
Oh.
Yeah. Read.
And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea. For he had
See, because Hosea was disobedient to the Most High sent the Assyrians. The Most High sent the Assyrians to basically besiege the northern kingdom in the time of Hosea's reign. But Hosea was trying to get out of that captivity. He was trying to get out of that conflict, out of the grip of the Assyrians, and try to get associates, trying to get allies of other nations. And the Assyrians found out about it. Let's see what the Assyrians did. Read verse 4 again.
And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to So king of Egypt, and brought no presents to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison.
See? Hosea was trying to get under the grip of the agreement he had with the Assyrians, because at this point the Assyrians had Hosea, the southern kingdom, or rather the northern kingdom, paying tribute to him. Understand? Because the Most High put at this point put the northern kingdom in captivity under the Assyrians.
So basically, the northern kingdom was trying to send help from Egypt to like back them up and try to overtaking him.
They were trying to get help from Egypt.
Right.
They were supposed to pay tribute to Assyria, but he didn't pay the tribute that you on time when he was supposed to. Instead, he said, you know what? I'm going to get this ally and stand up to this guy. I mean, I'm not going to be paying tribute to these Assyrians all my life. I'm going to sit and get some the Egyptians, so king of Egypt, to back me up, to defend me, help me defend my kingdom against the Assyrians. And the Assyrians, they found about it, and they moved on him. Understand? And so the lock to put him in prison. So they found him to put him in prison. Read. Read. Verse 5.
Verse 5. Then the king of Assyria came up out of all the land, and went up to Samaria, and besieged it 3 years.
So 3 years they physically, occupy the land. I mean, the president was all over the place. It was like just like you see America right now. In other people's land, in Afghanistan, all the when it used to be in Iraq and all those places with the militaries and the tanks and all that. They are occupying the land as if, hey, this is our land. Basically,
Embassies.
embassies everywhere. That's because they got the military might.
They weren't able to eat because they besieged them. Right. They cut off the food supply.
Right. They besiege when they besiege them in your army, you're surrounded. Understand? You can't bring in the food in, and you can't go out to buy the food. Right? They did that for 3 years.
About what year we're at now? 900?
We're approaching like the rulership started in 933 BC, but we're approaching like 722 BC now. That's almost up to 200 years. Because the Assyrian invasion is basically they were exiled from the northern kingdom in 722 BC. So this was leading up to that. This is leading up to, so this is probably like 730 BC or so, close. Somewhere around there, because the whole thing culminated in 722 BC. The whole thing, reached a peak. And when they were totally exiled from the northern kingdom in 722 BC. But these are events leading up to that. Read on.
In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria, and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah, and in Habar by the river Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes.
And in the cities of the Medes. What did I tell you? What does that imply to you right there? In the cities of the Medes were a different nation. Yeah. What does that tell you right there? That they are the Medes in captivity also. Tell you right there that they were the superpower right there. Understand? They basically are various nations in the captivity. Not every nation, because they didn't have Egypt in captivity. Because if they didn't have Egypt in captivity, they wouldn't try, you know what I'm saying? So they had a lot of nations, just like right now America got a lot of nations bowing down to them, but certain nations, are still, it's standard for them to a certain extent. You got the Russia, China, so on, they have the economic and the military mind to kind of put up some kind of resistance to them. Read.
Verse 7. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Most High their power, which have brought them out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and have feared other powers, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Most High cast out before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things which were not right against the Most High their power. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images and groves in every high hill, and under every green tree. And they burnt incense in all the high places, as they did the heathen whom the Most High carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Most High to anger. For they served idols, whereof the Most High had said unto them, Ye shall not do this thing. Yet the Most High testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes according to all the law, which I commanded your fathers, which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks, like to the neck of their fathers, did not believe in the Most High their power.
Right, so I mean, they totally disregarded everything the Most High said. Turned their back on the Most High. The Most High sent prophets to them to warn them, to remind them of the covenant that they made with him. But they refused to listen to the Most High, because that's a stiff neck and hard-headed rebelliousness that our people had up until this day. When things are going good, they refuse to listen to what the Most High has to say. And even when things are going bad, they refuse to see that, hey, there's hope. That's what happened to our people. Now go jump to verse 24 to see what on the end of the northern kingdom was.
Verse 24. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cuthah, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria, and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there.
See, so the Assyrians brought people of other nations. They brought men from Babylon, from Cuthah, from Ava, from Amath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria. So the Assyrians brought people of other nations, of other kingdoms that they captured them, and brought them into the northern kingdom. And the Israelites in the northern kingdom, they took them out and brought them into Assyria and other places, into Hamath. So basically, like, they switch places. Read.
And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Most High. Therefore the Most High sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, The nation which thou hast removed, and placed in the cities of Samaria, know not the manner of the power of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the power of the land.
Right. So these people that the Assyrians brought into Samaria, into the northern kingdom, didn't know the protocol. It's the process in which to serve the Most High. So because of that, wild animals would tear them up. So they complained to the Assyrians and say, hey, we're being attacked by these wild animals. So the Assyrians brought Levites. Levites are going to look fine to teach them the ways to worship the Most High, and that kind of stayed back on the attack from these wild animals. So all this took place 722 BC. 722 BC is when the Assyrians took out the Israelites from the northern kingdom and brought them to various parts of their empire that they captured, and brought men from those empires and brought them into Samaria. Understand? So we see right there that to put an end right there, to put an end to the northern kingdom in 722 BC. Okay. Now let's see what happens to the southern kingdom. Let's get Isaiah 45 and 1. It's Isaiah 45 and 1. Wait a minute, should I read that yet? Now let's see what happens to the southern kingdom. Instead of getting Jeremiah 34. What verse? Let's see what verse it was. All right.
Usually for when Babylon fought against Israel, fought against Jerusalem.
Now get Jeremiah 29. Start from verse 1. Then we're going to go into we just read about what happened to the northern kingdom, how they were taken down by the Assyrians and taken out of the northern kingdom abroad and brought into exile into the different territories that the Assyrians had under their control. So we're going to read now what happened to the southern kingdom. Read Jeremiah 29 and 1.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 1. Now these are the words of the letter that Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem unto the residue of the elders which were carried away captives, and to the priests, and to the prophets, and to all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive from Jerusalem to Babylon.
So right now we can see that the Babylonians now, understand that the Babylonians were now ruling. See, the Assyrians were in that time, like 722 BC, they were like the major power. But this is like about more than 100 years after that. Reading about up in 610 BC. The Babylonians were now one of the major powers. So as you can see that they were like changing the rulership. There's always one nation always rising up and overthrowing another nation. Reading about the Babylonians actually are really the process of carrying our people into captivity because they are already taken men from the southern kingdom and brought into Babylon. So the prophet Jeremiah was sending letters to some of these elders that were in Babylon. Read.
After that, Jeconiah the king, and the queen, and the eunuchs, and the princes of Judah, and Jerusalem, and the carpenters, and the smith were departed from Jerusalem by the hand of Elasah, the son of Shaphan, and Gamaliel, the son of Hilkiah, whom Zedekiah king of Judah sent unto Babylon to Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon, saying, Thus saith the Most High Host, the power of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives, whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon.
Right, so as you can see, the Babylonians are taking the southern kingdom, men of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, understand, and brought into Babylon. So the Lord Most High gave word to Jeremiah the prophet to bring to these Israelites who are in captivity in Babylon. Tell them how they should conduct themselves and what they should expect to happen in the future.
That's when the Babylonians were taking the Jews to Babylon.
Okay. Read on.
Verse 5. Build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat fruit of them.
And the Most High said, try to maintain, live a life. I know you're in captivity. It should have been better. Things would have been better if you were obedient to me and sitting in your homeland. But hey, like Most High said, even though you're in captivity, I'm going to be a little sanctuary to you anyway. So try to maintain, build the houses, have family, plant gardens, and eat. And try and stay healthy. Just like we should do in these last days. When we're in captivity, we know why we're in captivity, but the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments. Understand? But we know that because the scripture says we should have hope. Because we know the prophecies. We know we're going to go through this. We know what the end result is. The Most High Yimashakawashai said what? They declare the end from the beginning. Understand? We know what the end is. And the scripture tells us that what? We shall be gathered to the Mashakawashai again. Understand? So we should do all these things that the Most High told Jeremiah to tell to the Israelites that were in captivity in Babylon. We should apply them to our lives in this modern day Babylon as best we can. Understand? Read on.
Take ye wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that ye may be increased there and not diminished.
Right? So even though we're in captivity, the Most High said we should increase, just like we increased in Egypt. Read.
And seek the peace of the city, whether I have caused you to be carried away captive, and pray unto the Most High for it.
See that? And seek the peace of the city, whither I had carried away captive, and pray unto the Most High for it. Seek peace in what? Wait here for the Most High to rise up to the prey. Understand? The Most High put you in captivity. Hey, the Most High give you the sentence, and you're going to serve the sentence. Understand? It's not about we're voting right now, because that's only going to bring about our demise. Most High said what? Wait ye upon him to rise up to the prey. Understand? And we're going to go to this captivity. Read.
For in the peace thereof shall ye have peace. For thus saith the Most High of hosts, part of Israel, that not your prophets and your diviners that be in the midst of you deceive you, neither hearken to your dreams, which ye cause to be dreamed. For they prophesy falsely unto you in my name. I have not sent them, saith the Most High.
Right. I know what these prophets were telling, I guess we're talking smooth things to the Israelites, send them lies. I mean, it's all going to be good. It's all but the Most High tell them, don't listen to this prophet. Listen to what Jeremiah the prophet tells you. He's the one I'm sending. Read.
For they prophesy falsely unto you in my name. I have not sent them, saith the Most High. But thus saith the Most High, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you, and cause you to return to this place.
Right. So we see right now, the Most High told Jeremiah the prophet that the Israelites should be in Babylon for how long? 70 years. Understand? So we know, I mean, we're gonna see later, maybe not today, maybe another time, we're gonna see that that we saw earlier that the Assyrians were ruling over the northern kingdom. Or they brought the 10 tribes or 9 tribes from the northern kingdom into different parts of the territory that they were ruling. Now we're seeing that the Babylonians from the southern kingdom, into Babylon. Understand? And the Most High said that the southern kingdom should be there for 70 years. But as you read on and go more into more depths of this, we're going to see that that there's going to be another kingdom that's going to rule after the Babylonians. That's going to be the Persian and Medes. The Persian and Medes. Understand? The Persian and Medes, and they're the ones who are going to release Israel. Because the Persian and Medes are going to be ruling the united kingdom of Israel. They're going to be ruling the northern kingdom or the southern kingdom. And so there were remnants of our people still left in Babylon. Understand? But the cream of the crop, the wise men. When you read the book of Daniel, read about Daniel and those wise men. They brought the people who could build up their empire from Judah. And then the educated and smart, intelligent, you know what I mean? Who people who could build up their empire. Now let's go to Isaiah 45.
Verse 1. Isaiah 45, verse 1.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 1. Thus saith the Most High to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand have I holden.
Thus said the Most High to his anointed, to Cyrus. What is it saying? The Most High said that Cyrus is his anointed. What does that mean that Cyrus is his anointed? What does anointed mean?
He has like a special blessing. In a sense where he.
The Mashiach Yahushua is our anointed Savior, right?
Right.
But we're right in the Most High saying that Cyrus is his anointed. Yeah, okay. He's chosen to do what? And the Mashiach Yahushua is our anointed Savior. Yahushua is anointed, chosen to save Israel, to play the role of saving Israel. Right here it says Cyrus is anointed. You know what? He's chosen to play a particular role. He's not the same as the Mashiach Yahushua. A lot of people that see the word anointed, the most they can anoint anybody. Understand? Just because he anoints Cyrus, that doesn't mean he's going to save the Persian, the Medes. It doesn't mean he's gonna even if Pharaoh was anointed, we're looking at it that way. To rule over the Israelites and to give us a hard time and all that. Simply means chosen to play a particular role at a particular time to serve a particular purpose. That's all it means. We know the purpose and the role that the Mashiach Yahushua served for Israel. But as we read on, we're going to see what purpose that the Most High had Cyrus serving. Read on.
To subdue nations before.
Read it again from the top.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 1. Thus saith the Most High to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand have I holden.
Whose right hand have holding, meanwhile, he's leading Cyrus. He's going to guide Cyrus to perform a role. Read.
To subdue nations before him.
To subdue nations before him. So he's raising up Cyrus to be a superpower on this earth at that time. But the scripture says, by me kings rule. This that the Most High back in the time of Egypt, he raised up Pharaoh to be dominant power. He hardened Pharaoh's heart to afflict Israel, to show his power. Not only Pharaoh was so strong that you Israelites got to see that I'm the only one who can bring them out of this bondage that they're in. And right now, the Most High is raising up Trump, a prophet of Trump's heart, prophet of America, the modern day Babylon. Understand? And we are the only one who can, Most High is the only one who can bring us out of this captivity. That's why it says, wait ye upon him to rise up to the fray. Don't be going over there rising up there talking about you're going to get weapons and all that. That ain't going to work. But the Most High was holding Cyrus's hand, guiding him and leading him to subdue nations before him. So he's going to be the ruling power. Who was going to be the ruling power at that time? To take down, we all know Cyrus is the ruler of the Persian and Medes Empire. Let's read on.
I have holden to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the two lead gates.
And I will loose the loins of kings. What does that mean? It's going to weaken the kings, loosen their loins. You know what it says? This is the opposite of when it says, gird up your loins, strengthen yourself, put on your armor, stand up like a man, be a soldier. Then the Most High is saying right now, he's going to loosen their loins. He's going to drop their guard, weaken them. to open before him two-leaf gates. What are the two-leaf gates? That's the gates that I mean. Just look at these gated communities. You can enter the communities and there's enter the gate. So these two-leaf gates were like gates that were the entrance into the various cities, the stronghold. So the Most High was going to have these nations loosen their loins, weaken them to be receptive to Cyrus. So they would be under his bondage, paying tribute to him. Read.
I will loose the loins of kings to open before him the two-leaf gates, and the gates shall not be shut. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass and cut sunder the bars of iron.
Right. So the Most High said, I'm going to weaken these nations, take them down, so you can invade them. Read.
And I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I am the Most High, which called thee by thy name, am the Most High of Israel.
See that? But even though the Most High is raising up Cyrus to take down these nations, but then the Most High said to Cyrus, that he's going to let everyone know that he is the God of who? Our nations. He's going to let them know that he's the God of Israel. Isn't that strange? Isn't that strange though? That the Most High is raising up the king of another nation to take on other kings, so that all those nations can know that the Most High is the God of not those nations, but the God of Israel. Because, you know what I'm saying? They all know who the Most High was. And they know that he was not their God. Because previously he never had any close interaction with them like that. He's only anointed Cyrus, played Cyrus' close to serve a purpose. For Israel's convenience. Read.
Verse 4. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my elect.
For Jacob my servant's sake, and for Israel my elect. Read.
I even call thee by thy name.
See that? He's calling Cyrus by his name for Jacob's sake, not for the Persian's sake, or for the Mede's sake, but for Jacob's sake. Read.
I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me.
See that? You didn't know the Most High, these heathen nations. Hold on, get me chapter 17, verse 17.
The book of Sirach, chapter 17, verse 17, page 80 in the Apocrypha. For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people.
See, like the Most High said, in the division of the nations, not unity. So the nation was not supposed to be in one accord. Just like we read in Genesis chapter 11 at the Tower of Babel. The nation was supposed to be divided. So in the division of the nation of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people. Read.
But Israel is the Most High's portion.
But Israel is the Most High's portion. So these different nations are their ruler, but Israel was the most highest portion. Read.
Whom being his firstborn, he nourisheth with discipline.
Right? Whom being the Most High's firstborn, he nourished with discipline. What is that discipline? The laws, statutes, and commandments. That's what the Most High nourished Israel. Okay, so go back to Isaiah. And read verse 5 again.
Verse 4. For Jacob my servant's sake.
Verse 5.
Verse 5. I am the Most High, and there is none else.
I'm sorry, 4. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Verse 4. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my elect. I have even called thee by thy name. I surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me.
Right. They didn't know the Most High because the Most High never ruled over them in the sense that he was close to them like he was with Israel. He never gave them his laws, statutes, and commandments. He never nourished them. Just like we just read in the Apocrypha. He never gave them the law, statutes, and commandments. Read.
I am the Most High, and there is none else. There is no power beside me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me, that they may know from the rising of the sun and from the west that there is none beside me. I am the Most High, there is none else. I form the light and create darkness.
So it was then Cyrus know that, hey, I am the power, I am the only power there is. I am doing this for Jacob's sake. I'm giving you rulership for Jacob's sake, for Israel's sake. Now go to, let's go to, let's jump to verse 13. Can't read it. Go to verse 13.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 13. I have raised him up in righteousness, and I will direct all his ways. He shall build my city, and he shall let go my captives.
So who's he talking about? Who's the Most High talking about? No.
Cyrus.
So we're talking about Cyrus. This whole chapter is about Cyrus. The Most High interaction with Cyrus on behalf of Israel. See, verse 13, I have raised him up in righteousness. Meanwhile, he's going to do what I tell him to do. The Most High raised the Most High is guiding Cyrus, uplifting Cyrus in righteousness. Meanwhile, he's going to follow my commandments, my command. Do what I ask him, do what I tell him to do. And that will direct all his ways. He shall build my city. We're going to see that it's talking about Jerusalem, rebuilding of the temple. Because at this point, this is after the Babylonians. And as we know, the Babylonians, we're going to read in Psalms 137, verse 7. Or the Babylonians destroyed the temple with the encouragement of the Edomites. Understand? And Cyrus, who the Most High had encouraged Israel to go back and build the temple. I have raised him up in righteousness, and I will direct all his ways. He shall build my city, and he shall let my captives, and he shall let go my captives. It was Cyrus let go the captives. Read on.
Not for price, nor reward, says the Most High of hosts.
There's no price, no reward. The Most High put it in his heart to do that. Go ahead.
So it's just like where it says that, not saying that Cyrus like kept the law like how we have the law. Like, is it similar to where we have Abraham? He didn't necessarily have the law, but it said that his faith was accounted for righteousness because he obeyed God and he obeyed.
No, it's not similar to that.
I got a precept about what did I find? Proverbs 21. The king's heart is in the hands of the Most High.
I'll go read it. Read it. Okay.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Most High.
See that the king's heart is in the hands of the Most High. Understand? So the Most High can manipulate anyone in any particular way he wants to do whatever objective the Most High wants to serve. Understand? That doesn't mean that they're righteous or they're chosen. It's just that they're going to perform certain duties and behave in certain ways that the Most High wanted to do. Even right now, Trump is you could say Trump, put things in perspective, is doing the righteous thing. Then Israel know who our enemies are. But those of us who got too comfortable in America after Obama, thinking that all racism is done. It's all one big melting pot now. There's no more racism. So the Most High put Trump up in there, to check Israel right there. See, you thought there was no racism in America, huh? You thought you were not in captivity anymore. So you could say that the Most High's got his got a Trump to play that role, to wake up Israel, to bring us back into conscious, to wake us up in the consciousness, to let us know, hey, you are still in the land of your captives. They are still your enemies. Understand? But that is not to say that they're keeping the commandments of the Most High as or to be counted for faithfulness as Abraham was. That's totally different. Read on.
As the rivers of water, he turneth it whatsoever he will.
Right. So the Most High can have these rulers do whatever he wants them to do. Easily. Go back to Isaiah.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 13. I have raised him up in righteousness, and I will direct all his ways. He shall build my city, and he shall let go my captives, not for price nor reward, saith the Most High of hosts.
Right. That's what the Most High was saying of Cyrus. Read.
Thus saith the Most High, the labor of Egypt.
What does that mean? The labor of Egypt, meaning what? The Egyptian. No, Cyrus and the Persian means had the Egyptian in captivity. Understand? Cyrus and the Persian would have been superpower right now. It's up to the Babylonians. The Egyptians were already in captivity. Read.
And merchandise of Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. Even the Ethiopians were subject to it. See, a lot of people, especially Benjamin, say the Ethiopians were never in captivity. You see, they never read the scripture. What they really the misunderstanding is that Ethiopia was never in captivity. They were never colonized by the so-called white man, just like the rest of the Hamite, the rest of the so-called African countries were. That's all I meant. But at some point in time, they were in captivity. Even under the Egyptians. Understand they had wars against the Egyptians. And right here reading that the merchandise of Ethiopia, meaning what? The Ethiopians were paying tribute to the Persians and means.
Sort of like a tax.
Right. Understand? Well, because just like we were paying tribute to the Romans when they occupied our land. Understand? So when a country has a military power over you like that, I mean, but basically it's like slavery in effect. You work into whether it's hard bondage or not, you're a slave. And you're paying tribute to them. You're working, and whatever you work goes straight to them. Read.
And merchandise of Ethiopia, and of the Sabaeans, men of stature.
All the next read.
Shall come over unto thee.
All these nations shall be in captivity. We're in captivity under the Persians. Read.
And they shall be thine. They shall come after thee in chains. They shall come over and they shall fall down unto thee.
See, a lot of people when they read this, they think they're talking about Israel. They think they're talking about a future prophecy. But they never read it from verse 1 to see what we're talking about. You see what this is talking about Cyrus and all the Most High raised Cyrus up to be a dominant power over these different nations at that time, at that particular time. And as we can see, for Israel's sake. Read.
They shall make supplication unto thee.
You shall beseeching thee.
Saying, surely the Most High is in thee.
See that it says, you gotta be the Most High giving you this power. They all know about the Most High. You have a connection with the Most High. They knew the Israelites were in connection with the Most High. And they were wondering, how can there be a connection to the Most High? Read.
And there is none else. There is no power. Verily.
Even the nation are acknowledging that there is no other power but the Most High. Read.
Verily, thou art a power. Thou hidest thyself, O power of Israel.
See that? But verily thou art a power that hidest thyself, O power of Israel. That's what the nation said in reference to Cyrus concerning the Most High. How it's got to be the Most High giving you this power. to have us in captivity like this. Read.
O power of Israel, the Savior, they shall be ashamed and also confounded, all of them. They shall go to confusion together. They are makers of idols.
See that all those nations shall be confounded, go to confusion, despair, captivity, anguish. All those nations who serve idols. Read.
But Israel shall be saved in the Most High with an everlasting salvation.
See that? The Most High let them know right there, but all those nations are going to be serving the Persian and the Medes. And eventually all those nations are going to be in captivity. But Israel, it's going to be a different story with Israel. But Israel shall be saved in the Most High with an everlasting salvation. And our salvation was not just being released from the captivity from the Persians. It's going to be an everlasting salvation. Read on.
But Israel shall be saved in the Most High with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed, nor confounded, world without end.
Right, see that? You shall not be ashamed, nor confounded, world without end. It's talking about Israel. Now let's wrap it up. Again, Ezra's 1:1. No, not that part.
Ezra?
Ezra, yeah. Ezra in the Bible, not the Apocrypha. On Ezra, I get Psalms 137, verse 7 and 8. To show you about the Babylonians, or the Edomites who are encouraging the Babylonians to destroy our temple.
So when did the Persians take over? Like what year?
Persian, see the Babylonians destroyed our temple like.
You said the Babylonians took over.
The Babylonians they destroyed our temple in 586 BC. That's when they burned the temple down. 586 BC.
You said around 610 is when Babylon.
That's when they start basically around that era. They start besieging of Jerusalem, and they eventually destroy the temple. In we read in Isaiah 29 verse 10, right? Or we shall be in Babylon for 70 years, right? We're going to read. What we're about to read right now is 538 BC. 538 BC is when we're released from the Persian captivity. 538 BC is when we're released. Understand? That's all the 12 tribes. So add 70 years to that, and you will see when we went into Babylon. I'm saying 530, that's 608. That's 608, right? 538. Add 7 to 538, that's 608 BC. You were released, right? You were released from the Persian captivity in 538 BC. Understand? The northern kingdom was, the southern kingdom was there longer. Remember? I'm sorry, the northern kingdom was there longer. The northern kingdom was there from 722 BC. Understand? From the Assyrians. So basically, the northern kingdom served the Assyrians, and then the Persian Medes. Well, when the Persian Medes came into power, they took over from the Assyrians, and everybody who the Assyrians had in captivity, which included the northern kingdom. Understand? And they also took over from the southern kingdom. So from the Babylonians who had the southern kingdom in captivity. So basically, the Persian Medes put our captors in captivity along with us. You understand what I'm saying? So the kingdoms who had us in captivity, the Babylonians who had the southern kingdom in captivity, and the Assyrians who had the northern kingdom in captivity. When the Persians rose up, when Cyrus rose up, the Most High had all of them in captivity. The Most High had the people who had us in captivity under Cyrus, the Persian Medes. And we read Isaiah 20, Jeremiah 29 and 10 again.
Sorry, one more time. 538
BC
is when Israel
is when Cyrus released the 12 tribes of Israel from captivity. Because at that point in time, it was Cyrus who had all the 12 tribes in captivity. The Persian Medes. I'm saying? Even though initially they didn't take on both kingdoms at the same time, but they just took them from the different nations who had us in captivity. And they released us as per the Most High in 538 BC. Read as Jeremiah 29 and 10.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 10. But thus said the Most High, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word for you.
See that? Thus said the Most High, after 70 years is accomplished at Babylon. Meaning what? After we serve the Babylonians, after we have served our captivity in Babylon for 70 years, the Most High will release us. And when was that 70 years accomplished? 538 BC. So if it adds 70 years of 538 BC, that tells you when the southern kingdom had gone into captivity. Which was 608 BC. Right? 538. Let's do the math right here. 538 plus 70. 608 BC. That's when the southern kingdom went into captivity. But the northern kingdom we read earlier went into captivity under the Assyrians since 722 BC. So they were in captivity a much longer time. Now go back to Ezra. We're going to wrap it up with Ezra.
Ezra 101.
101.
The book of Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Most High by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Most High stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia.
Read it again from the top.
The book of Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Most High by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled. The Most High stirred up
What word is that? What word is that? Read it again. I don't think they heard it, but I think they got it. Read it again.
The book of Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Most High by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled.
What word is that?
You'll be releasing them.
Right. After what?
Captivity.
After when? What was the word?
70 years.
After the 70 years, right. Exactly. So I just like we read in Jeremiah 29 and 10, that 70 years shall be accomplished. And we also read in Isaiah 45, or the Most High was anointed Cyrus for Israel's sake. Okay, now this is what we read right on Ezra. Understand? The Most High put in the spirit in Cyrus to accomplish what he told Jeremiah concerning Israel, that we should be released after 70 years, which coincides with 538 BC. Understand? Which proves that we were in captivity in the southern kingdom. The southern kingdom was in captivity in 608 BC and got released in 538 BC. So the southern kingdom was only in captivity for 70 years. But the northern kingdom was in captivity much longer, from 722 BC. But all 12 tribes got released because all 12 tribes at that point were under the rulership of Cyrus, king of Persia. Understand? Read.
the Most High stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing,
Right.
saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Most High power of heaven had given me all the kingdoms of the earth.
See, he's acknowledging that Mosai was the one who brought him to that level where he had dominance over the other nations. Even the other nations acknowledge that also. They had to be the power of God of Israel to put you on this level, because nobody else could have done that. Read.
And he had charged me to build him a house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah, who is there among you of all this people.
See that? No, Cyrus is talking to the Israelites. Read.
His power be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Most High power of Israel. He is the power.
See that? He's acknowledging that Mosai is the power. Read.
Which is in Jerusalem. And whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, let the man of his place help him with silver and with gold, and with goods, and with beasts, besides the free will offering of the house of the Most High, that is in Jerusalem. Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin, and the priests, and the Levites with all them, whose spirit the Most High had raised to go up to build the house of the Most High, which is in Jerusalem.
See that? So you see right there, this is southern kingdom right there. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Going back, Cyrus looking for men among them, among the 3 tribes, to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. Order get Psalms 137:7 to show how the temple was destroyed. The Babylonians destroyed the temple. 586 feet. Psalms 137:7. The Babylonians destroyed the temple with the encouragement of the Edomites.
The book of Psalms, chapter 137, verse 6. If I do not remember, verse 7. Remember, O Most High, the children of Edom.
See that? That's David, the Spirit telling Most High to remember, O Most High, the children of Edom. Read.
In the day of Jerusalem.
In the day of Jerusalem,
who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that worded thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones.
All right, see that? It's talking about the Edomites encouraging the Babylonians to destroy the temple. And you can link this up with Obadiah. Edom stood in the way, prevented us from escaping from the Babylonians, and even the ones that was to escape or running us up, brought us back into the Babylonians, So we just read, you read all those, you read about when, I'm going to summarize what we did. We read about, I did most of the calculation basically based on when Solomon died, which was 933 BC. And we calculated based scriptures all the 3 kings who ruled over the United Kingdom of Israel for 40 years. So based on that, we calculated when those respective 3 kings started ruling. And based on that also with the scriptures, we calculated when we left Egypt and also when we went into Egypt. One scripture I didn't calculate is how long. We know we were in the wilderness for 40 years. How long we were in Jerusalem as judges. Understand? But if we know that Saul started ruling in 1053 BC, understand? We can calculate Saul started ruling in 1053 BC. Then we can calculate when. It's basically about 370 years we were as judges. So with that, I'm gonna say shalom. Listen, we're gonna wrap up for tonight, and the most I willing, be back again. Shower service, 12 noon sharp. The most I willing, we continue again where we left off with this, and go into the historical, documentation of Israel. So I imagine Wapanya, Yarashua.
To wrap it up at 133. Shayar, Iowa, Darawad, Hana, Ma, Tawab, Wama, Nayam, Shabbat, Akyam, Gam, Yakad, Kashaman, Tawab, Al, Araash, Yarad, Azakwan, Ha'aran, Shayarad, Al, Hayah, Madawak, Yawar, Katal, Aramwan, Shayarad, Al, Araria, Kazayawan, Ya, Sham, Kazawa, Yahawa, Abaraka, Kayawam, Ai, Hashem, Awashai, Awalam.
Psalms 133 in English. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garment, has the dew of Hermon, and has the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Most High commanded a blessing, even life forevermore. Bahashem Masha Kehabushai, the water from Yah,
Shalom.
Shalom, Yasharala, Kankan. To what Yasharala for tuning in. Those in the live streaming conference calls. So this concludes today's service. We'll be back again, most I willing, 12 noon Eastern time tomorrow for the Shabbat service. Shalom, Yasharala.